All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. You guys have been great, good interaction. I have been getting a little more pushback lately. I guess that's to be expected. Whenever you make a video that's deemed negative about LeBron James or Steph Curry, that's what's going to happen. Okay, no problem. I expect it, and it is what it is. The facts are the facts. You can give your opinion all you want, but, I'm just giving concrete facts. I wouldn't even say it if it wasn't provable and on paper, fact checkable. And like I've said before, I encourage anybody to fact check anything I say and literally anything you hear on any of these stations, any of them, especially the mainstream media. Okay. I did a video not too long ago about how Michael Jordan never had a teammate outscore him in a playoff series. Well, what I decided to do was I looked at my entire top 25 and see how that matched up. But what I also did is I included their opponents. So in other words, for each player, either they were the leading scorer of that series in points per game, or it was a teammate, or it was an opponent who was the actual leading scorer of the series. So I'll get right into it so you know what I'm saying. Now, the parameters are you must have played at least half the series or more, and you must have, started or played, quite a bit of minutes in at least half the game. Now, if there was a tie, like say say the player and one of the opponents averaged 25.1 points per game, I just gave them each a point. So anyway, Nikola Jokic in 14 series, he had a teammate lead the series 4 times, an opponent led the series 7 times, and Nikola Jokic himself 3 times. So obviously the opponent was half of that because he played 14 series. So the opponent actually outscored Jokic and his teammate half the time. Number 24, Giannis. He played 15 series. His teammate 4 times. The opponent 8 times. And Giannis himself 3 times. So again, Giannis and Jokic were being outscored by their opponents and even their teammates. Now, scoring isn't the whole deal. This isn't an indicator of how good a player is. It only shows how good of a scorer you were, how potent a scorer you were. Number 23, Elgin Baylor. Out of his 25 series, 11 times it was a teammate, probably Jerry West, a lot of those. An opponent 5 times, and Elgin Baylor 9 times. So again, this one, his teammate would have been Jerry West. Number 22, David Robinson. Out of his 27 series, 12 times a teammate, 9 times an opponent, 7 times David Robinson. So far, none of these players have outscored both the teammate and the opponent. Number 21, Bob Pettit. In his 15 playoff series, 3 times it was a teammate. I think that was probably Cliff Hagan. 6 times an opponent, and 6 times Bob Pettit. So he did as good as the opponent on that one, 6-6 to 3. Kevin Durant, in 33 series, he had a couple ties in here. Teammate 5 times, probably Westbrook, Curry, whatever. Opponent 10 times. And Kevin Durant himself 19 times. Now, Durant is, usually described as one of the best scorers or whatever, so it stands to reason why he has more than the opponent or the teammate put together. 19 for KD, 10 for the opponent, 5 for the teammate. Number 19, Kevin Garnett. 24 series, he had 4 for a teammate, 14 for the opponent, and 6 for KG himself. So, that one there, again, the opponent. Number 18, Karl Malone. In his 38 series, he had 4 teammates. All 4 was when his last season when he was on the Lakers. I made a special notation on that. So it would have been Kobe and Shaq probably. But the only time a teammate was his last season on the Lakers. 4 times for the teammate. 10 times it was the opponent. And 24 times was Karl Malone. Now, that's a really good percentage. That's even greater than Kevin Durant. So, going by that, you got to say Karl Malone was even better scorer than Kevin Durant was. Going by this. Number 17, George Mikan. In his 18 series, I think there was a tie in there. 1 time it was a teammate. 3 times it was an opponent. And 15 times it was George Mikan. So Mikan was a dominant scorer. Basically, every time he took the court, he's the most dominant scorer on the court. The stats back that up. Number 16, Oscar Robertson. In his 17 series, 8 times it was a teammate. I'm sure that was Kareem probably every time. 3 times an opponent, probably Wilt Chamberlain. And 6 times Oscar Robertson. So the teammate leads out on this one. Number 15, Steph Curry. Now, I was very surprised with this one. In Steph Curry's 28 series, 4 of them went for the teammate. I think it was all Kevin Durant. The opponent 13 times, and Curry himself 12 times. So the opponent outscored Curry in points per game in his playoff career in the series. That's crazy. I never would have thought that. I would have thought Curry for sure, but it isn't. It's the opponent. Number 14, Moses Malone. In his 21 series, 5 times it was a teammate, probably Dr. J. 6 times an opponent, and 10 times Moses himself. So Moses was the predominant scorer in that situation. Number 13, Jerry West. 11 times a teammate, 3 times an opponent, and 15 times Jerry West himself. That's impressive. So old Jerry, outdid the opponent and his teammate. His teammate was probably Elgin Baylor on those 11 there. Number 12, Dr. J. In his 38 series, he had a couple ties in here. His teammate 9 times, the opponent 11 times, but Dr. J himself 20 times. So more than half the series played, Dr. J was the leading scorer in his 38 series. 20 out of the 38. There you go. Number 11, LeBron James. He's got, similar numbers to George Mikan and Dr. J, maybe even a little more than Dr. J. Teammate 6 times. Again, I think there was at least one tie in there. I think him and Anthony Davis tied one series. But anyway, teammate 6 times, opponent 12 times, and LeBron himself 38 times. So that is one of the better ones of points per game, no doubt about it. Number 10, Shaquille O'Neal. Out of his 44 series, this is a pretty even split. It was a teammate 14 times, an opponent 13 times, and Shaq himself 17 times. So a pretty good split there. Number 9, Tim Duncan. He actually did better than I thought, but I was surprised. At his 48 series, 9 times it was a teammate. Opponent was 27 series, and Duncan himself 14. So Duncan was a little more than a third, but over half was the opponent. I'm sure that was probably Kobe, Shaq, Dirk Nowitzki, so on and so forth. Number 8, Akeem Olajuwon. 1 time a teammate outscored him, and I believe that was Ralph Sampson in his very first series. An opponent 10 times, and Akeem himself 17 times. So he's got the lion's share there, more than half, no doubt about it. Wilt Chamberlain, number 7. this one is the most surprising on the list. You would think Wilt just dominated. He didn't. First half of his career, yes. Second half, no. Out of Wilt's 29 series, there's one tie in here. A teammate 14 times, and that was like Hal Greer, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. An opponent 6 times. Wilt Chamberlain himself, only 10 playoff series was he the leading scorer in the series. Crazy. I didn't know that either. Out of his 29 series, only 10, he was the leading scorer. Nuts. Number 6, Larry Bird. Out of his 32 series, it was a teammate 5 times, an opponent 14 times, and Larry Bird himself 13 times, which I was a little surprised at. I figured Bird would have, been ahead on that one, but he wasn't. There was a couple ties, whatever. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Out of his 49 series, 7 of them were his teammate. Probably would have been James Worthy, maybe Magic on some of the... It would have been later on down the road in the late 80s. The opponent 21 times, and Kareem himself 23 times. So he, came out the leader in that, but barely. And he did not lead in half the series that he played in, which I was surprised at. I thought for sure he would have been at least half. Kobe Bryant, he's got some very... LeBron James numbers on here, despite the fact of having Shaq on his team. Kobe Bryant's 38 series, he had a teammate 9 times. That would have been Shaq, all 9 of them. An opponent only 5 times, and Kobe himself 24 times. So that means that Kobe, even though he was like a 1B with Shaq on the Lakers, only allowed an opponent to outscore him in a series 5 times. That's impressive, very impressive. In fact, I believe other than Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, George Mikan, that's about the only ones that were less than that. And, those guys didn't play anywhere near the amount of series that Kobe did. Okay. Number 3, Magic Johnson. You're not going to be surprised about this one at all. It was a teammate 14 times, an opponent 23 times, and Magic himself 5 times. He led a series 5 times, and out of 40 playoff series. Him and Russell, it's not surprising. They were rarely the primary scorer. Now, in the late 80s, early 90s, Magic did start scoring a lot more, showing the versatility of his game. Number 2, Bill Russell. Out of his 27 series, it was a teammate only 4 times, an opponent 23 times, and Russell himself 0. Now, Russell did lead the Celtics in scoring on a few series, but not more than the opponent did. So that would have been Wilt, Oscar, Bob Pettit, that kind of thing. And the reason why his team only led in 4 of his 27 series, because they did a score by committee kind of thing. It was Havlicek, Sam Jones, it was Bill Sharman, Frank Ramsey. They had a plethora of scorers. Bailey Howell. It really was a committee thing. Bob Cousy. So they didn't really have that one standout score. They didn't need to. They were just so deep. It was unnecessary. Now we get to Michael Jordan. In Michael Jordan's 37 series, he never had a teammate outscore him. I believe that's the only player on this list. It is. I did a video on this not too long ago. Mikan only had 1. Olajuwon only had 1. They were the closest. But an opponent only 1 time. His very first series, just like Olajuwon with the teammate back in 85. In the same year, in 85, Terry Cummings averaged 29.5 points per game, and Michael Jordan 29.3. And if you want to know how potent a scorer Terry Cummings was, he actually outscored David Robinson like 8 years later. I think it was in the 93 playoffs. He outscored David Robinson in one of those series. So Terry Cummings, he had a lot of injury problems and whatnot, but, that guy he was on a trajectory for the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. Maybe top 75 if he could have controlled those injuries. Really good score, could shoot, do the whole thing. Okay, so for those, because I already know people love to hate on Jordan, so I'm going to cut this off at the pass. People are going to say, well, Jordan didn't really go up against a lot of scores like that, not like LeBron did, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm going to take a look at that. Well, in 85, I just showed you, Terry Cummings actually outscored Jordan. 1986, he played Larry Bird, and Larry Bird was the MVP, and nobody going to sit here and tell me that Larry Bird wasn't a potent scorer. He averaged 28.3 points a game, just wasn't higher than Jordan. In 87, Bird averaged 26.0 points per game. Jordan just had more. In 88, they went up against Detroit. Adrian Dantley, a two-time scoring champion. In 1991, against Charles Barkley, he averaged 25.6 points per game in that series. Pretty good. Jordan just did better. In the 92 finals, Drexler averaged 24.8 points per game. Of course, Jordan just did better. In 1993, against Atlanta, Dominique Wilkins, who won a scoring title, averaged 30.0 points per game, which I think is the best in any opponent against a Michael Jordan team. In fact, that is a fact. 1993 also, Patrick Ewing averaged 25.8 in the Eastern Conference Finals. In the finals in 93, Barkley, who won the MVP that year, averaged 27.3 points per game. In 1995, Shaq, who won 2 scoring titles, averaged 24.3 points per game. And also in 96, Shaq in the Eastern Conference Finals averaged 27.0. And his teammate Penny averaged 25.5. So it's not like these guys are all averaging 18 points a game. I mean, they're scoring. 1997 finals, Karl Malone, who won the MVP, 23.8. And in 98, Karl Malone, 25.0. So there was a plethora of scorers and MVPs in there, guys who won scoring titles. There was definitely some scores in there, no question. It's just that Jordan, just did better. But anyway, I just think it's crazy. Somebody in the comments pointed that out. I remembered this, but I went back and looked at it, and out of the 37 series Michael Jordan played in, only his rookie year by 0.2 of a point. So in other words, if he would have made one free throw at any point in that series, he would have outdid Terry Cummings, because that would have been 0.25 of a point more, which would have put him 29.55 points per game. And then he could have said, I was the leading scorer in every series. But he's not, and that's fine. Anyway, it is what it is. Thanks for watching, and again, I hope that this, is just more proof that people can understand how potent of a scorer that Michael Jordan was. The guy was just phenomenal, and he didn't, like I said in the other video, didn't have the luxury of taking a night or a series off. You might have had a random Pippen or a Kukoc or a Orlando Woolridge here and there, but for the most part, Jordan was scoring 30, at least 27 points per series or more, or they're not probably going to win. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Till next time.